Gothic texts. They're born out of the Enlightenment period and represent everything anti that. Anti reason, anti classical, anti beauty. We're thinking more darkness, monstrosity, irrationality, and uncontrollable desires. But do these Gothic texts seek to constrain these desires or liberate them? We're going to have a look at Dracula by Bram Stoker and the movie A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night by Anna Lily Emipour to discuss this argument. The unsettling fictional city, known as Bad City, is home to a fierce, chattel-wearing vigilante vampire known simply as the Girl, who is a clear depiction of female desire and feminist rage. With her, we see a transition away from the stereotypical monstrous vampire who we aren't necessarily sympathetic towards. Instead, we are struck by moral ambiguity and left feeling more empathetic towards the vampire than her victims. I mean, this movie feels especially liberating for women as it addresses modern social anxieties such as the oppression of women, female sexuality, and it also explores class structures and the parasitic, dare I say, vampiric relationship America has with Iran. And these topics are further analyzed in Using Queer Utopias and a Feminist Iranian Vampire, a critical analysis of resistive monstrosity in A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night by Shadi Abdi and Bernadette Marie Calafel. They claim that monstrosities, such as vampires, have been used throughout Gothic texts to represent the social anxieties of the time. The vampire has over time become a representation for the victimized, and we see a great example of this when the girl and the sex worker Addie share a solemn conversation that highlights the difficulties placed upon Addie due to the patriarchal society that they're living in. There's a shared sadness amongst the women in the audience that seems to evoke the desperate desire to find a solution to the hold that patriarchal systems have on the world. And we also see the scattered B-roll of oil pump jacks puncturing the earth, and it seems to serve as a reminder of how the Iranian and American Iranian diaspora have been affected by their colonial ties to the US. These dreary industrious settings throughout the movie sets the tone for a world filled with seemingly unattainable desires due to the extractive and damaging effect capitalism has on the environment and people. Now let's cast our minds back to 1897. Dracula was written during a time of great change for female empowerment, and the fear of the new woman threatened Victorian society. Roger Luckhurst describes this term, coined by Sarah Grant, in his introduction to Dracula. This new woman is assertive and pushes back on traditional gender roles. And Stoker's Dracula reveals unease towards this topic as he presents the characters Mina Harker and Lucy Westenra as opposing examples of women during the time. Mina being educated is seen as a positive, manly trait and is regarded positively amongst the men in the story, as she uses her education to serve her husband dutifully. Lucy, on the other hand, is perceived as an assertive, unruly modern woman who, after transitioning into a vampire, becomes a seductive and voluptuous monster. And Dracula is a stark contrast to A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, as we see the monstrous desires of Lucy constrained and even punished. I mean, Lucy is staked in the heart in order to destroy the deviant she had become. In Emipour's movie, the vampire killing all these bad men physically liberates not only the other women in the city, but Arash as well. He no longer has to tend to his father's addictions, now that the girl has killed him. So, can we say that both texts are seeking to liberate desires if Dracula clearly condemns them and A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night casts a morally grey area where the vampire is protecting other women, but at what cost? At the end of the movie, there is a sense that it was all for nothing because these problems will continue to exist unless the worldwide deep rooted change is made. Well, I think if we look back at Abdi and Kalafel's analysis, we can see that although vampires are unsettling, there is a reciprocal relationship between our fear of them and our desire for what is unfamiliar, repressed, and kept out of sight. And so, even though there appears to be constraints on the desires expressed throughout the two texts, we can see the influence they have on the audience. They have open dialogue and invited readers to examine these desires, once hidden in the shadows, now brought to light. And in my opinion, this in itself slowly severs the constraints on them and transforms the monster from an outcast to now, how Kalafel puts it, as something intimately connected to our pasts, presents, and futures as a society.